I saw this post on r/True Christians talking about suffering from nihilism as a Christian, and it inspired me to make this video because honestly, nihilism and feeling like none of this matters is something that I've suffered with for a while now, and I'm going through one of those waves right now. So I've been praying a lot about it, and I just want to share with you some of the answers that God's given me, just in case you might be feeling the same way. I've been thinking about dying a lot recently, and no, it's not like I'm depressed or anything, but I just think about how nice heaven would be. I get to spend eternity with God. That sounds pretty good. And then I ask God, why am I here? It feels like I'm in prison living out a sentence of 80 years where I'm condemned to this body that I know is gonna sin and have to watch other people sin. And I think about heaven and the eternity and freedom from my own failure. It sounds pretty good, So I've been asking God, why am I here? Working when money goes away, eating when my body is gonna turn to dust anyway. And God gave me a very good answer. He's a pretty perfect dad, so yeah, it makes sense why he'd give me one. And he told me that it's okay to be nihilistic about the world in and of itself. Feeling the senselessness and meaninglessness of the world is just grasping its truth. But it becomes meaningful and important through God and through Christ and through the lens of our perfect Father. To explain this a little bit more, I'm gonna use a kind of dumb analogy. I was watching this Peppa Pig versus Minecraft YouTube video with my 7-year-old cousin, okay? Obviously it wasn't that funny for me, right? But my cousin was just enjoying it so much and seeing how much he's dying laughing. And because of my love for him, there was this weird subconscious thing that happened somewhere in the middle. I started to genuinely enjoy it in and of myself. And it's like my brain, I think it's called empathy or something, right? But it's like my brain picked up exactly how he was feeling about it, and it transferred into my body, and I started to be able to see the world in the same way. And I think when you really love God and continue to be in relationship with God, you can start to have empathy and see the world through his lens. In Ecclesiastes, the wisest dude in the Old Testament writes about the senselessness of everything, the cyclical nature of life, how everything will come to pass and be forgotten, how he had made gardens and orchards and water pools of which to water the growing trees of the grove, and how none of that mattered, how all was vanity and grasping for the wind. He also talked about his wisdom, how he was the most intelligent, wise man of all of Israel, and how he will die just as much of a fool. But in almost every single chapter of Ecclesiastes, it reminds you to rejoice. I'll give you an example of one of them in Ecclesiastes 3, and I have it memorized, but I could be missing a couple of the words, so bear with me. I perceive that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. Through the vanity of the world, through the senselessness of the world, we can still enjoy it and rejoice because God, when he made the world in Genesis 1, saw that it was good. And when we love a father who sees something as good, we can see it as good too. It's this weird process that's happened to me. I don't know if I can really explain it, but when I see a tree outside, it's a tree, man. It dies, I don't care. But then I start looking at it, if I'm in a really good place of loving God, I start to see that tree as a tree that God made, my perfect Father made, and it suddenly becomes so beautiful, and I watch it blow and tremble in the wind, and it moves me deeply. One of my biggest sins and flaws is my judgment of people. I can't stand seeing the sin and shortcomings of everybody, including me, and I've dealt with self-hatred for a long time because of that. But God told me, hey, stop looking at people like you do. Start looking at it from the perspective of a perfect Father who designed each and every single person with a deep intent. How every single person I go around and judge was sanctified and designed and known before they were even in the womb, like Jeremiah 1 says. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I completely fixed my judging of people. I still struggle with it all the time, but it's getting better. And the closer I get to God, the more I can feel seeing myself and the world through God's lens. And it's a really beautiful thing, man. And I begin to just acknowledge that my perfect Father, my loving God, has designed it for me to live out here on 80 years first, or 50 years, or whenever I die, before I go to heaven. And because he has deemed it so, it starts to feel okay. It feels less like a prison sentence and more like an opportunity to embrace and nourish myself in a world that my God has deemed good. Even if there is senselessness and vanity of it, even if the food that I eat will go away and turn into a brown, crusty poop later, I can still enjoy it while it's in my throat, you know? Things that are vanity, things that come to pass can still be enjoyed because our perfect Father has designed it so. And then another thing started to happen. As I begun to appreciate so much the design that God has made the world with, I began to just feel a desperate desire to share that with other people, to share that good news. And it's why I'm like starting a channel like this, and I want it to be clear. I'm not starting this channel and talking about Christianity and taking all the criticisms that I have and will get because I'm courageous or I'm brave. No, I'm not at all. I was pissing myself scared thinking about all the people that would judge me if I talk about God on the internet. And I was complaining to God, like, why are you asking me to do this? But my gratitude to God is so deep, and I just want other people to know how good we got it because of this God. It's like a compulsion, and then it adds another purpose to my life, and then every single day I become grateful that I got another chance, that I didn't get a heart attack in the morning, because I can let somebody else know that God's out here, man. And that God is good, really, really good. Somebody on my first video said I talk too snivelly and whiny, like I'm gonna cry all the time. And that hit me hard. I felt pretty bad. Like, oh, should I try and talk, like change the way I talk? Because of God's love for me, that stuff, it doesn't feel important. If there's just an opportunity to make somebody see God, then who cares, you know? And I'm just so thankful to God. And that's, you know, I'm just gonna keep rambling on. I don't got much else to say, so I'm gonna end it here, but thank you so much for watching.